my YouTube channel. So today we will discuss how we could fix security report issues related to CRUD and FLS. And for example, if you just want to make your application just more secure. So first of all, let's check the common architectures that usually use it to avoid that kind of issues. So if we have any kind of class logics around our project, all of them or some of them usually have DML statements and SOQL statements. So the good way to do and approach with DMLs is to have DML processor. So as a part of this DML processor, we will be able to implement CRUDs and FLS checks only in one place, and we will don't need to perform invocation of schema, get described to make sure that object is accessible, that all fields are writable in every class that we have in the project. So for SOQL queries, we could have DAO classes. Each DAO class will be separate based on the object. So for example, one for account DAO, so it will contains all of necessary SOQL queries to account object. If it's custom objects, then it will be some custom object DAO class that will perform any kind of SOQL operation related to this custom object. So this DAO class, what it should do, it should call SOQL processor class. And this SOQL processor class will need to make sure that it will return only valid data to us. So it will go against CRUD and FLS, will make sure that there will be nothing that will be shown to the user if he don't have access to see it. So how we could approach it? So for example, in both of situations, what we have at the end, before DML operation or after result of SOQL query, we have anyway list of S-objects. So based on this list of S-object, what we could do if we will have any kind of security class, it's we could send this list of S-object, perform necessary validation of the security class, and return just cleaned result to the user. By cleaned results, I mean already not accessible objects will be removed from this list of objects, and fields that user don't have access to read will be not visible in that result. So first of all, let's discuss what could we do for SOQL processor. So Salesforce offer for us possibility to use and add into our SOQL queries security enforced clause. So by this way, what we could do, so let me show you an example of the query. So here we have some list of accounts that we would like to retrieve from database. And if we are putting at the end with security enforced, what it will do, if for any reason we will don't have access to any field from our query, for example, for parent name or for parent website or even for any field on the account object. So what Salesforce will do, it will just indicate insufficient permission and will return to us message. And this message just will contain something like insufficient permissions to the following object. So by this way, we will not be able to understand what kind of fields are not accessible, what problem do we have, and so on and so forth. So we will need to somehow understand what really happening and what our users could not see in the SOQL query. So it's a good example what we could use, but maybe it's not full. So against of that, on another hand, we have something called in Salesforce Security Class. So how it actually works. Let me show you an example. So let's imagine we have a list of opportunities that we would like to create in our Salesforce. So it's an example of DML. So to do so, we need to create a subject access decision and apply to it security stripInaccessible result. So first of all, we are passing here access type. So in this case, it's creatable, but in the list of available access type in Salesforce, we have creatable, readable, updatable, assertable. Please note that there are no deletable, because for delete, we will need to perform a regular check, how we usually do it through describe. So after that, we are passing the list of S-objects that we would like to verify. As a result of the stripped logic, we will get a decision, and this decision will contain the following. It will contain stripped records in the getResult method, get modified indexes, and removed fields. So for example, in our use case, if we don't have access for our user to probability field, we will just get 2 opportunities in the result. As you could see, they are here. And we will be able to see that for security reason, our current customer don't have access to opportunity, so that field probability is removed. So we will be able to see all of this kind of information here, and it's pretty informative, right? So you could show in your error logs wherever you want, so you will be able to fix your permissions if it's necessary, apply some permission sets, or do wherever you want. So we already have force.com ES IP library, which is already working based on the stripInaccessible from this security class. And if we will go to SFDC access controller class and we'll search for strip inaccessible, let's find the actual implementation of the class, of the method. So here it is. So as you could see here, we have some additional parameters. As we already were able to see, source record, some fields if you would like to verify something. And what is happening here? Here we have one additional parameter, it's enforce root object CRUD. So what it's do, if you are passing here a list of its objects, for example, account and opportunities, and you don't have access to for example, opportunity, what it will do, it will throw no access exception, and it will letting you know that there are no access to entity, and will put here your subject name where you don't have access. So we will be able to continue work with other objects that were passed as a part of this subject list, but it's what we have here. So right after that, what is happening, so we could access to construct our error message all necessary fields that were filtered during this operation. So by this way you could control what kind of logic you would like to apply. So for example, very restricted logic that will check for root object access, and restricted access you could check also here if, for example, you would like to apply logic if at least one field is not accessible, then entirely return an exception. So you could apply everything here. So let's now jump to examples and let's see how actually stripInaccessible works. So to check how it works, I have prepared a unit test, and in this unit test, first of all, I have prepared setup test user method. So this user method, what it just do, it's for my specific profile that I already configured on Salesforce to have restricted access to some fields and some objects. It will grab it from the database, it will construct some test user, and it will return it. So let's now jump to our first unit test. So in the first unit test, we're preparing user based on our profile, and here we have a list of accounts. So here we have 2 accounts, one with just name selected and another one with industry also. So if we will run our test under test user, and we will use decision security stripInaccessible, and we'll check if our user have read access to that collection with CRUDs check for that object. So what we will get as a result, as a decision, we will be able to see our records that were stripped, and if we will try to access, for example, field industry that was removed from here, so what we should expect. So if we will go to the debug, we will be able to see that for our test regular cleanup function, so we have 2 accounts, it's account 1 and account 2, so both of them industry is equal to null, and even when we are trying to check what kind of removed fields we have, we will be able to see that field industry was removed. So each time when you will try to perform access to field based on the stripped records, and this field was removed as a result of stripInaccessible, what you will be able to see is that this field will be null. So let's jump to the next example. So here we're trying to test object CRUDs, and here we have a list of opportunities, and we would like to test what will be exactly happening if we will set up perform CRUDs for root object to true and perform CRUD to root object to false. So let's check result of execution of this unit tests. So what we could see, it's when we will select operation to check root object CRUDs, we will see exception when this mod is running. So that means that if we will run this operation and we will have no access to the passed object, we will see an exception. But if we will set it to false and user will don't have access to this object, so what we will get as a result, we will get a list of empty opportunities. So let's continue moving forward. So here we will try to test objects FLS for query with child. So here, as you can see, we just constructed query where we have fields of account and fields of the contact. So what will exactly happen when we will try to execute this query? Will it show to us correct result, or will it just verify only contact object? So let's jump to debugs and see. Okay, and what we could see here is that we have already contacts returned and we have here fields of account. So it looks like everything working as expected. And when we will check removed fields, we will be able to see that it's removed some fields from account and some fields from the contact. So that means that when we use it combined query, it will perform valid check against that query. Let's also check what if we will test inner query. So for example, what we will see if we have this select here that will try to grab data from account, and also inner query will try to grab something from contacts. So let's see what stripInaccessible will return to us. So when we will check a result of that operation, we will be able to see that our stripInaccessible cleaned fields where we don't have access on both account and contact level. So that means that it also works. And let's check our latest use case when we have test inner query with result access to child. So in that use case, what we just created, we created a couple of contacts, we created account. And on the profile level, what we did, we just removed access to contact object at all. And we tried to perform this stripInaccessible operation. So as a result, what we get here, if you will see, we don't have any kind of result. Why it happened? It's because no access to entity error thrown. So that means that based on the all of kind of possible use cases that we would like to check, everything working correctly against of stripInaccessible. So if we will jump back to our diagram, that means that as a part of the security class, we could at this moment implement stripInaccessible, use it for DML processor records before the DML and for SOQL processor queries after the query to make sure that necessary list of subject records is already cleaned up. So that's all from my side. Thank you for the attention. Please subscribe on YouTube channel if you like that video.